You are listening to a Dynamicworksproductions podcast. This show is available on iTunes, Stitcher Radio Network, and many, many more podcast services around the world. You can find all our content, music, videos, books, podcasts, and more on our website, www.dynamicworksproductions.com. Have questions, comments, or concerns for us? Head on over to the social tab on www.dynamicworksproductions.com if you'd like to talk to us. Now, on with the show. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Fork in Your Ear podcast. I'm your host, as always, disheveled-haired, still slightly hungover. I have pizza grease on my shirt. I didn't even bother to change my clothes or showered. The one, the only, the disheveled Tim K. Trotter. And joining me from the West Coast in a dimly lit room, the man who steals his movies from Hollywood, the one, the only, the nattest of foos, Nate Foo. Oh, I don't know which is worse. Probably pizza grease and glitter. That's probably the worst one, for sure. Oh yes, the craft herpes. There you go. Well, we once again have a lot to talk about this episode, so we better fucking spin the ring and get to it before we don't get to two other fucking topics like we didn't do last week. And my wife has changed my lighting. Cool. I don't like this. I'll change it in a second here because my eyes fucking hurt. We landed on fire. That's life, I believe. Pretty sure. Life fire? Life fire? Oh Christ. Did I write anything? I didn't. Oh, okay. So 2 weeks ago, my wife's uncle with his wife and his 3 kids came and visited, and then we hung out a bunch, and we went to this thing called Meeker Days, which is basically like a farmer's market times 2, or at least it generally is. And then this year was fucking huge. It took over like the whole fucking town. It was insanity. They had a beignets stand. It was nuts. There was like 4 concerts happening. I was like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah, it was huge. And I was like, what changed? Because like it used to be like one small park and like a pavilion that's like built for the farmers market. It's like a couple of city blocks large, and this was like all of the city blocks. Its streets closed. It was wild. It was really cool. There were like, yeah. I was not prepared for it at all. Because they were like, "Oh, we're going to Meeker Days." In my head, I was like, "That's boring. Your cousins are going to be bored at this farmers market." But then it ended up not being that at all. Yeah, no, everybody had a good time, and it's just tiring, and the the park and specifically the bench where I proposed to my wife. Had a big old construction thing around it, and I don't know if that bench is going to get removed now because it looks like they're upgrading. Yeah, I do actually. I do know the owner. I do know the owner of the company. I just haven't bothered to communicate yet. Eh. Mm. I suppose. I suppose you're correct. Um. Oh, what? Well, you've never sold this story on the show, so now you pulled the ripcord. You better unpack that Ziploc. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm. Mm-hmm. 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 Mm. It's fair. Right. Mm. 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 It's definitely not romantic. I mean, I wouldn't say a park bench is entirely romantic either. It just had some sentimental value as that's where we had our first date. So, yeah. Yeah, so we did that, and then what else happened? That occurred. And I think I said last episode, her uncle had intentions on listening to the show, so that's why I was stating things as such. And I guess if you're still listening to the show, welcome, welcome, welcome back. But yeah, no, they were fun people. Her cousins were in, no, no. That was the normal family. This is the family that lives nearer to you. Yeah, this is the family that lives nearer to you. Because they're still down there. So they flew up for that Father's Day. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that occurred that was particularly major. I suppose had I had talked about the Meeker Days, I'd probably remember more things about it. But yeah, then when either the following Wednesday or yeah, no, it was the following Wednesday. Um, Jessica decided to drag me along to a coworker's goodbye party. Um, and met a whole ton of people that I never met before. That's always great. Yeah, most likely. But yeah, no, we went bowling, and so I want to preface this with I didn't I didn't know I've bowled before like a decade ago. So like I understand the general concept of actual bowling and not some Wii Sports bowling, although I'm great at that. No, no. Because a lot of the bowling alleys around here were pretty far away from me. And I think it was had opened during COVID or something, but now there's a bowling alley like in my town. So I don't know. We'll see, I guess. But so I want to preface this with I didn't know I was going bowling. I knew I was going to a going away party for some dude whose name I've already forgotten. No, because I have a friend named Robert who also does work at Amazon. So that would just be confusing. Let's call him Gary. How about that? I don't remember his name, so we're gonna call him Gary. Um, but I didn't know. Didn't I just knew there was gonna be some party, and I was expected to go. I was expected to be, as my wife puts it, like butterfly-y and charming and shit. I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. Um, I guess, sure. And but before that, I had gone to the chiropractor, um, and he had a new machine table thing where they like drop your particular section of your chest or whatever to like realign it or whatever the hell bone doctors do. And it was excruciating. Like I screamed. I was like, "Oh my god, why does it hurt so much, doc?" And he's like, "Well, because I never had that table before, and because we've never adjusted it." And I was like, "Oh god." Yeah. Oh, see, this didn't have any of that. It was just silent and thump. So it didn't have any warning or whatever. And I complained to him about that, and he's like, "Well, that's the idea, is that there's no warning, so you're not squirming, you're not prepared for it, so your body's relaxed, so we can get it adjusted." Anyway, it hurt a lot. However, I did notice myself immediately standing up taller, straighter, and feeling kind of better. And actually, overall, pretty marked improvement, honestly. So I was like, okay, that's probably a good device then. But yeah, no, just got adjusted. So, just, I mean, sure. I mean, he said it was gonna adjust, but I don't know where my bones are placed. They're in the flesh sack, right? Just move around. Uh, so I had just been adjusted, and of course, my wife fucking takes me bowling. So yes, yeah, I was fucking, winging that ball. I think I was throwing an 18-pounder. They're by pounds, right? Yeah, I don't know. It said 18 on it, so I'm assuming that's an 18-pounder. Um, well, then I don't know. Then it was a number 18. I don't know. It was There was like really small pink balls. Then there were blue balls that were kind of a medium size. Then there was orange balls which had my number on it, and they were like between the medium and like the extra large. So whatever that poundage is, that's the one that I was sticking with. But no, I mostly beat my wife. We ended up the group of people. Yes, agreed. The group of people we were with was huge, so we had 2 lanes, and I was on whomever the hell's team, and she was on Gary's team. Um, and I don't know if she'd bowled before, because there's a certain point where I was like, "Honey, you need to release it way the fuck lower on your swing instead of just like throwing it in the air." I was like, "You need to." Yeah, a loft. Yeah, loft in the ball, that's for sure. Um, and yeah, and she took my advice, and she was bowling better after that. But I don't know, I wouldn't say I did great. I got a couple strikes over. We did how many did we did? We did maybe 5 full games, but we had like, I don't know, there were like fucking 15 people per team. There was like a lot of people there. Um, and so we pulled from 6 p.m. till like 11:40 or something like that. It's pretty late. And all we ate there was booze and fries, which was not great. So I had like a fucking 44-ounce Mai Tai or some shit, and a fucking I had a Moscow Mule, which I didn't know is traditionally served in a copper cup. Um, I mean, I guess now that I think about it, where I've had Moscow Mules is either in a can or in like a tropical scenario. It's just like a regular glass. So I don't know. The fact that it came a copper thing, and I'm looking at everybody else's drink, and I was like, is this normal? I guess it is. Um, so yeah, so I had that. I had fucking fries. We had like 2 thingies of fries, and I had a fucking it's fucking which helped loosen me up and whatnot, and the group, and got me talkative and stuff. I was very disappointed. I was told after the fact that this dude was probably gay, but I didn't know that. There's a dude on my team, and he was shredded, absolute, just a beef of a man. Yeah, and this man, I was giving him shit pretty much most of the night, because I'm like, this guy should be able to do it, and he's like, yeah, I've bowled before, I've bowled a lot, and he was fucking terrible. And I was just like, what? There was a point where I felt like fucking Alfred from uh the Dark Knight trilogy, the Christopher Nolan trilogy. I think I literally shouted to him, I was like, what is the point of all of those muscles if you can't throw the damn ball straight? What the fuck, dude? Like, I was like, what is going on, man? And then it was super weird, like after the third game or something, he would throw it and it would be bad, and then he would just do a set of like 20 push-ups like randomly around. And I was like, you don't need to, I was like, you don't need to punish yourself, man, just because you're doing bad. And he's like, oh, I'm not punishing myself. And I was like, well, why the fuck are you doing a rep in between fucking bowling sets? I guess. Well, he had no dominance in that scenario. And then later, and I was like, because I was calling them all different names to my wife after, because I went by what they were called on the scoreboard, because I didn't fucking know. His was I am him. That was his name on the fucking scoreboard. And I was like, yeah, so you work with I am him? And we were driving back, and she's like, oh yeah. And I was like, yeah, he's fucking shredded and very terrible at bowling. And then she's like, I guess. But then I was like, I there was like another girl there, but she like got him like a drink, and so I didn't know the relationships to anybody, so I was like, so what are they like together? And she's like, oh no, I think she was a friend because I'm pretty sure he's gay. And I was like, oh really? Huh. Okay. Well, could have fooled me with that gym bro attitude. But I don't know. Whatever, I guess. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. So we did that, and then of course the next day my shoulder was out. And basically the following week until I got adjusted again this week. I went this week too. Like I showed up at chiropractor at my usual time, and then about 5 minutes into signing in and saying hello to everybody, I was like, "Am I supposed to be here? Is this isn't my day. What am I doing here?" And then they were looking and they were like, "No, it's your day." And I was like, "Is it though?" And then they checked the calendar, like, "Oh yeah, no, this is not yet. You're supposed to come the following week." And then I was like, "Well, I'm here. I'm signed in. I guess we'll do this." And then the chiropractor was like, "What did you do to your shoulder? You're doing great." I was like, "Yeah." And wife took me bowling immediately after you adjusted me. He's like, "I would not recommended you go bowling." He's like, "Why did you go bowling?" He's like, "I could have told you that." And I was like, "I didn't know I was going bowling." And he's like, "Fair enough." And then because I don't know, I've been fucking busy lately with this extracurricular activity, then the following Saturday, I went to a local convention that's now also gotten huge called SummerCon here, and I helped a friend of mine, Brian, who old Fork Fam listeners may remember when I was running Cosbon advertisements on this podcast. He's the guy who did that, and he's a master cosplayer and stuff. I hadn't seen him in many, many years. Um, I helped him get into a ridiculous outfit, of which there's a couple of pictures of him in the thing. Yes. No, he's the one with the giant wings and the rocket launcher, cosplaying a gender bent Farah. Yeah, he knows like everybody in the cosplay scene. So like whenever people see him, they'll be like, "Oh, hi, Brian," or "Oh, hey, can you fix blah blah blah," or whatever the fuck. Um, so yeah, so we did SummerCon, which we weren't planning on going, but he was like, "Hey, I have nobody to help me in and out of my ridiculous costume that has like those wings move, like they electronically like geared move all kinds of shit." I was doing wiring in the parking lot. It was fucking insanity. Oh yeah, those were all from the various robotics colleges around here and stuff. Yeah, Wally's was probably the most advanced because it had all the range of emotions, and he even had like a little plant inside that he could take out. Yeah, Jessica did the same thing. I was like, "Oh my god, it's a cute Wally! Look at the Wally!" Mhm. But yeah, it was very hot that day. which it didn't start off that way. It started off typical Washington gloom, and I got burnt as fuck because I didn't put any sunscreen on, despite the fact I had sunscreen in my backpack the whole goddamn day. But so it goes. But there was, I agreed. Well, I'm a Washingtonian. It's like, son, what do we do with you? Fair enough. Fair enough. But yeah, no, there was a bunch of people at the con, obviously famous people. I was basically just a lackey for the day. So I just looked at stuff and I got to see, not necessarily interact with, um, the people of Hollywood, which was cool. It was cool to be like lay eyeballs on them and like hear their voice and in real life and whatnot. So let me see. I sent the list to my mom. She was interested. I saw. It's not that chat. Chat. Yeah. So I saw Vincent D'Onofrio, who's Marvel's Kingpin. Yeah, is that not how you say his name? Vincent D'Onofrio? D'Onofrio? I don't know. He was cool and predictably tall. I saw the dude who played Lieutenant Gata and spoiler alert, Cylon in 2005 Battlestar Galactica. I don't remember his actor's name. Saw Ming-Na Wen, of course, Agents of Shield, Mandalorian. She's the original Mulan. I saw two of the original Charmed girls. And they looked predictably coked out and whacked out. I saw Rose McGowan and the one who played Piper, whichever that one is. I don't know. Hello. Yeah, it was Hollywood. Oh, okay. I saw ultra famous, well, from my viewpoint, ultra famous voice actor Billy West, who has to be like a fucking 100 years old or something. I don't even know how old he is. He's still doing stuff. If you've been alive and have watched a cartoon, you've probably heard Billy West. He's done everything from he was Woody Woodpecker, Ren and Stimpy. He was the Yes, very much. He was the original Scrabby, what his fucking name is. Shaggy. He's the original Shaggy. And then of course, perhaps more he's also the fucking red M&M and has been forever. But of course, and he does like 1,000 voices on Futurama, including Fry and stuff like that. So that was cool. Dude, John Barrowman was there. Had a stint in Arrow. He was in Torchwood. I only know that because my mom watched that show, which I think was that spin-off of Doctor Who. He looked fabulous, as he should, since he's hella, hella, hella gay. But obviously he keeps up. He's probably got like 20 years on you, Nate. He looks better than you or I. Particularly cool for me was I saw Jewel Stady, who played Kaylee on Firefly, and she also did stuff in Stargate and other little stuff. She was tiny. This one was weird for me because I didn't know this person was going to be there, and like Jessica pointed it out, him out to me, and it's one of the rare times. Like, I don't generally get like crazy starstruck or anything like that. Like, I've been to enough conventions, and I feel I'm old enough that there's not like oh my god. But I did see famous uh, prolific voice actor Troy Baker, who's of course the original Joel in The Last of Us, a thousand fucking other things, anime, video games, fucking. He's played the Joker and is the absolute closest we'll ever get to someone replacing Mark Hamill as Joker. Like, his Joker is crazy specific to his Mark Hamill stuff. Um, yeah, he's very cool. They were there, but I didn't get to see them at all in person. Was pretty much the whole last Next Generation cast, including folks from the last season of Picard here, because they were behind. There was like, oh, nice, yeah. Was she pleased? Good, good. So I guess that'd be the only bummer thing, because like it would have been cool to have just been near. But yeah, like fucking everybody from Star Trek there. Like, so um they had Jonathan Frakes, um LeVar Burton, Michael Dorn, um forgetting the name of the chick who plays Deanna Troy. Yeah, Marina Sirtis, who I have actually seen in person at a Comic-Con years and years and years ago, where she was fucking plastered. Absolutely just a nightmare. Like, she was fucking wild. I will. Yeah, something was happening. Yeah, and I know John Delancey was there as well as the captain dude who died in the end of the season in Picard, the new one that we like, and now he's gone. Yeah, he was there. Yeah, hate to like. Um, and then the last one that I got to see briefly was Tara Strong, who's again another ultra famous voice actor. She's Harley Quinn and has been Harley Quinn forever, and she only has like 500 voice acting credits. You know, nothing big. She's only all of the Powerpuff Girls, all the My Little Ponies, all the everything and everything there's ever been. A little girl voice or a little boy voice. She's done it all. And she was super tiny in person. Like, she is a small, like my wife is small, you know? Like, she, like, yeah, she was like, how do they say it in Pirates? Or like a miniature one. Like, she was very small. Not even being mean. I was just like, oh man, oh, she's standing on a box. Okay. Fair enough. So that was cool. Did that, and been seeing lots of movies. Um, yeah. Oh yeah, and then I I had a I had a stevia uh ginger ale root beer mixed with some premium um rum last night. I had 2 cups, and it fucking destroyed me. And I don't know why. I was googling things this morning, and I was like, okay, I know when you have rum and, you know, like Pepsi or something, you know, like a rum and Coke, like that aids the stuff because rum's already very high in sugar alcohols, and that like helps it move along and stuff. but like I was destroyed. Like there was a point, I think around 3 a.m., where I thought I was gonna lose all of my lunches, and I was like in the bathroom, like a disheveled mess, crying for my wife, holding my head over the porcelain throne. Thankfully, I did not lose anything, um, which is also probably why this hungover has lasted all fucking day. Uh, well, I was trying to think of what I did. Me and my wife were even talking about it. She's like, "Did you miss a meal?" I was like, "Oh, I ate lunch." She's like, "Did you eat dinner?" I was like, "Yeah, you saw what I ate for dinner." And then I was like, "I didn't eat a lot of dinner. Maybe that's part of the problem. Probably is." Yeah, but yeah, no, I was taken aback because that's not an unusual amount for me, and it just, yeah, fucking destroyed me. Like my eyes still are like hungover sore from it. Like I'm very surprised because like I don't get hungover a ton, at least anymore. I wasn't even partying. I had two fucking cups, and they weren't even like a jumbo cup or like a fucking man mug or some shit. They were like a normal ass. No, like it was like I had half of a can of Zevia, and then half rum, and then I poured the other half of the can in after I finished it. Like it was a one can. So I guess basically it'd be one full can of Zevia and one full glass of rum. Yeah, you guys don't have that? It's a stevia soda. It's the brand. I mean, it's not fake. But I mean, that's true. But it's better than all the fake ass artificial sweeteners and shit. Good for you. And that's why you'll probably live a long, healthy life. So there you go. Um, but yeah, no, it destroyed me. I'm very upset by it because didn't want to go to Indiana Jones hungover, and I did. So so it goes. So yeah, that's what all's been going on with me. I kind of went on a huge tangent. Did you have life shit? Did you have life shit to discuss? Okay. Hmm. Oh yeah, you mentioned that. That sucks. Hmm. Okay. Okay. Hmm. Fair enough. Oh. Tell her to lean in the mic if she's gonna. Hey, if it makes you feel any better, since I did just have a birthday last month, and my wife didn't get me anything, which is not par for the course at all, and I felt a little betwixt about it. So, hmm. Mm. Mm. Does she not have a toaster and an iron? Oh, okay. I don't know. My wife loves those though. I get her fucking kitchen shit. She's like all about that. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. You could probably hear the explosions on my end. It's that time of year. Mm. Mm. It's wizardry. Yeah. All right. Well, if there's right, because you live in California. Fair enough. Fair enough. Mm. Yeah, that pine sounds flammable. At least in your state. So, all right. All right. I was thinking the same thing. We've landed on water. So, uh, we didn't even get to entertainment, did we? Oh no, we did. We did to dumb. We did the to dumb event. Yeah. All right. So scrolling back to something we didn't talk about. The video game Death Stranding is getting a movie. I didn't know this is happening. And Nicolas Cage has been spotted at Hideo Kojima's production studio, and I'm like, does this mean Nick Cage is in a Death Stranding movie? Summer Games Fest. Yeah, he showed up because he's now a character in Dead by Daylight. Um, yeah, so it goes. It's fine. Nick Cage is just showing up in some stuffs. Well, I was gonna say some other stuffs too, but we're not gonna get into spoilers. Um, so Paramount Plus has, I love this. Paramount Plus has now become Paramount Minus. They've been canceling shit left and right for tax write-off. Yeah, Paramount cuts for tax write-off reasons. I don't know how this happened, considering it was already renewed and they've won awards. But Star Trek Prodigy has been killed at Paramount Plus. The producer of the show said it was very shocking because he didn't know it was coming. He also said that they are presently looking for a new home for the show. So I would hope, if the rights for that particular agreed, it would be weird. Well, and doesn't Netflix have a lot of Star Trek stuff internationally? Like they have a good relationship because I'm pretty sure Picard is on Netflix internationally because Paramount's not worldwide yet. So I would think if anybody, it would probably be Netflix. Um, but if not, I would hope like a big one like Amazon or Apple scoops that up because I'm just like, man, like okay, fine, it's an animated Star Trek, but it's fucking good. Like, well, that's the thing. It does. Have you seen the fan petitions? They're wild. So I don't know. We'll see. Sure, the niche, it's more niche than traditional Trek. Of course it's gonna be, because it's not traditional Trek. Um, yeah, super weird. So I've seen 3 movies. I'll give you the dealer's choice as to which one I'll communicate about first. So I saw Jennifer Lawrence's No Hard Feelings. I saw DC's The Flash, and this morning I saw Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I can't. uh so man, The Flash is such a so there are definitely things that suck in The Flash. It's not a perfect movie. It's not the second coming of Christ of superhero films like James Gunn and everybody and their mother has been hyping about for the thing. So it's definitely overhyped. But at the end of the day, it's probably like top 5 DC movies that I've seen, which is saying a lot because there's obviously been a lot of DC movies. Um, I'd say the things that it misfires on. There's a character in the Flash lore, Iris West, who's like the love interest. She's horribly miscast. There's absolutely zero chemistry with her and the main actor. And then obviously watching it, it is Ezra Miller who, when I saw it, you know, because this happened also yesterday too, is my understanding. Um, we saw it this Wednesday. So there was a little bit of that. I've enjoyed him as an actor before, and I've enjoyed him as the Flash before as well. But there's also in the back of my mind, this motherfucker is crazy in real life. But Friday, he actually, the judge dropped all charges on all the shit that he's been in shenanigans with, and I was like, well, that's interesting. So, who fucking knows? I don't. Uh, yeah. But no, the things that suck about the Flash are, I think, probably number one. It hurts me that the movie is such a good DC movie, knowing that this particular run of interconnected movies is dead now since they're rebooting the universe. It hurts me because it's very good. um, there are a handful of big action sequences that the CG there's something off about the CGI, and I don't think those were bad, and that's inherent to the Flash for some reason. Um, but like, no, there's a lot of like, it's really weird because there's really good CGI in the film, and then it'll be like a next shot, and you'll be like, oh, did a did a crappier VFX house work on that particular shot? And then you're like back to good, and it can be a little bit jarring. The things that me and my wife came up with were some of the CGI looks a little cartoony, which is not great. Yeah, it could be a bad special effects house. It also could be, for all we know, a rushed special effects house. Like they didn't have the time. Yeah, and and you can probably even see this in the trailer. So it's not thing like I can't say that word today. Spoilerly. Um, but like there's some really cool fight scenes with Michael Keaton's Batman, which is definitely a highlight of the film. And like he's number I mean, I love Michael Keaton. B, he looks like number A. He just looks like he's having fucking fun. Like in the role. Like he's having a fucking blast, even though he is playing the same Batman from Batman 1989. Um, which is great. And you get to find out, like what he's been up to. basically since then, which is kind of great actually, and the way that that's handled without spoiling it is honestly pretty cool. It's like a really cool, like, if Batman existed in the real world kind of answer, which I didn't expect in the film. But like I said, there's some fight scenes with him, and obviously there's some sequences where, of course, he is CGI because action. Um, yeah, yeah. But and his Batman's just fucking defying the laws of physics. Um, and that can be a little odd. And then that's juxtaposed to the Supergirl in this film, where all of her CGI feels like real and raw and like has the appropriate weight to it that you would expect of a Superwoman. Um, so it's like stuff like that, or there'll be like some shots where it's like, I don't know if that was well lit for that CGI character. And I think the overall problem too is, and not because like it's just one of those movies that has a fuck ton of CGI to have a fuck ton of CGI. It's because the movie has a lot of shit that you couldn't do without CGI. Like we have Superman, we have people who are moving. And actually, the effect they do for the Flash running is super cool. Actually, I think that's something that they particularly nailed. And we've seen the Flash in 2 different live action versions already. Actually 3, since obviously Ezra Miller did play him before in Justice League. And the way that they handle the speeding is like really cool. And part of me was like, I wish the Sonic movie had done this. I was Well, he's my speedster. Like he's my guy. He's the blooper. Um so yeah, I think the Flash is really good. It's really funny, which I didn't expect. Like it's very funny. But it's also really dark. Like if that makes any sense. Like it I hate to say this because everybody on the internet fucking screams when you compare a DC movie to an MCU movie, but it's the most MCU DC movie yet. Like Shazam got a lot closer than other films, but like the Flash felt really dark but really funny, and it really juggles those 2 elements um well. Obviously Michael Keaton's Batman, huge highlight, just fantastic. um the gal who plays Kara, who's Supergirl, she was fucking great. I was like, man, I would love to see movies with her. Oh wait, those are canceled. Okay, great. Like she was super cool. Um, yeah, there's a lot to like about it, and I think other thing too, being a longtime DC fan as well, or comic book fan, I didn't feel talked down to. Like they didn't dumb shit down for the audience. Like so, like all of like the shenanigan stuff surrounding like the Speed Force and how they do time travel and multiverse shit in DC. Like all of that's like there and on display. And we're like, yep, we know what kind of movie we are. And we're not like, if you weren't paying attention, this movie's not for you. kind of film. And I felt that spoke to me good. But my wife liked it. She didn't know much about the Flash. Um so yeah, that would be what I'd say about the Flash. Yeah, it was fun, it was fun. And that's fine. Understandable completely. Had I not had my Regal Unlimited Pass thing, I wouldn't have paid my full price to go see this film, even though I really wanted to, because Keaton Batman, obviously huge draw. But but like obviously, and the trailers, like we have Ben Affleck, the last performance of Ben Affleck's Batman in it too. And he's great. I've said it before. I've enjoyed his Batman. You get to see his version of it, the Bat Cycle, which is pretty fucking sick. But then without spoilers, there is a huge number of cameos from the DC universe in this film. And when I mean huge, I mean into the Spider-Verse level of holy shit. This person's in the film and they're dead? What? Like, what is happening? Yeah, really, really cool stuff. Yes, it I wouldn't even say it's an attempt, it's a thing. Yeah, because there's a very famous comic book that this is loosely based off of. There's Crisis on Infinite Earths and there's the Flashpoint Paradox. And I would say to comic book fans, it's a lot of Flashpoint Paradox, and it's Crisis on like a couple Earths. Would be what it would be. Yeah, yeah. And the arc that the Flash's character goes on is actually really cool in the film. So yeah, that's the Flash. All right, and then we got Indy, or I got Indy, and I have no hard feelings. So, if you don't know, since it's probably a lesser known movie, it's a comedy starring Jennifer Lawrence, who, I shit you not, this is the premise of the film. There's a Craigslist ad for a woman to date this couple's kid before he goes off to college because he's a loser and they want him to lose his virginity before he goes to college. And if they date his kid, the person gets a Buick. Now, allegedly, yeah, a Buick, a car. Now, allegedly, this is based on a real Craigslist ad that the writers saw once upon a time and couldn't fucking believe it. And see, I never saw that film, so I don't know what is that the same premise, basically. Mm. Yeah. So the dad in this one's played by Matthew Broderick. And and these are all in trailers. Like there's a scene where they're meeting with Jennifer Lawrence and she's just like, "So when you want me to date your son, what do you mean? Date him or like date him?" And Matthew Broderick looks at his whoever's playing his wife, and he's like, "Well, like date him. Like date him hard." And we're just like, "What the fuck is this shit?" It's a very raunchy movie, by the way. Like it's a very raunchy movie that has ultimately a pretty beautiful story and message, and it's shot like a beautiful artistic indie film for some reason. So it's kind of gorgeous to look at all the time. But yeah, no, it's super raunchy. To be clear on the raunchiness, when I walked into that film, and I'm a Jennifer Lawrence fan, I did not have buck naked in the bush Jennifer Lawrence fighting on a beach and getting kicked in the vagina on my bingo card when I walked into this film. It was not something I expected at all. um but yeah, it's a very funny film. I'd heard mixed things on it before we saw it. Like some people were like, "Oh, the movie's weird. It's not that funny." But me and my wife were laughing our fucking asses off. It was very good. So I'd say give that one a go if your wife's into funny, raunchy but also like kind of grounded, if that makes any sense. Um, I wouldn't call it a rom. Oh, okay. Um, yeah, it's good. It's good. And then that comes down to film I saw this morning, all hungover. It's not how I wanted to see it, but so it goes. It's Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. So there's been a lot of hype, obviously, about this since it's the final Indiana Jones movie since Harrison Ford is fucking 80. Um, yeah, but I'd heard everything from they done did it to it's great to it's a soulless cash grab and it's terrible. I'd heard all of the above going into the film. I mean, not for me and my wife's money. Like we saw it and it's a really good Indiana Jones film. So we watched actually all the other Indiana Jones films this last week. It- yeah, we watched all of them. Yes, all of them, including 4. Yeah. I made her do it. I was like, "We're doing them all. We're doing them all, hun." Um and so what I'll say given that context that we saw all the Indiana Jones films in order before we saw this film this last week is that Dial of Destiny is the most Raiders of the Lost Arky of the Indiana Jones films that exists. Um, and so what I mean by that is like the first Indiana Jones film is very grounded. It's not particularly funny. Um, Temple of Doom and obviously Last Crusade is kind of where I think what most people think Indiana Jones is, like where that kind of barometer sits, where there's lots of humor, lots of action, lots of whatever. No, you don't think that those two are? Oh, then I think Dial of Destiny is going to be for you then. Um, but yeah, like going through all the films back to back, it's like Raiders is super grounded, not that funny. There's definitely more camp and fun and humor and stuff. No, I'm saying just compared to the other Indiana Jones films. Like I agree, it is funny. But I'm saying like there's more humor in Temple of Doom and Last Crusade and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, even though not all of it lands. Um, so yeah, I would say like if you're an Indiana Jones fan going into Dial of Destiny, it is way more like it's way more Raiders in the tone department. Um, they go to great lengths to actually address Crystal Skull criticisms, I think. Um, and like considering it's the one and only Indiana Jones film that's not Steven Spielberg. Um, he executive produced, but that doesn't fucking mean anything. He executive produces like 100 projects a year. Um, maybe he was a little more hands on this one since it's one of his children, but I don't know. No, this was directed by James Mangold, who did Logan and the Wolverine. And he's done other stuff too, but those are the ones that I know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's not a no name director, but yeah, it's an interesting film. I'll say something that I particularly thoroughly enjoyed was that it has the I'm not kidding, it has the best villain of any of the Indiana Jones films because my fridge just turned on. That's cool. I don't know why my fridge turned on. That's great. I don't know. Shit might be kind of whack. Our power was out on Friday for like 5 hours. Um, yeah, it has hands down the best, well-rounded, not one-note villain in the indie franchise. You know, and not just because it's being played by the fucking fantastic Mads Mikkelsen, but he has like a whole ass arc, and you're just like, no, I really get where this dude's coming from, and there's very interesting choices about who he is, which I'm not going to spoil, because there's like a lot of really cool history stuff, you know, because like that was really my not just, you know, are they going to fuck it up, is it going to be good, but you know, seeing the trailers and there's fucking Nazis, and I was like, oh man, we're going back to the Nazi well again, you know. Temple of Doom and Crystal Skull don't have Nazis. Crystal Skull is Russians, and Temple of Doom is crazy ass temple people. Yeah. Um like and it's interesting coming directly from having seen Kingdom of the Crystal Skull a couple days ago, and you know, being older now and looking at Crystal Skull, the problems I have with that film, because I actually like all the alien shit, to be honest. But the problems with Crystal Skull were it's too goofy at times, and there's some really terrible CGI in the film, and there's some plot, and I understand that was what 2009 or some shit. I don't remember when Crystal Skull came out, to be honest. I mean, I remember seeing it in theaters, but I don't remember the exact date. But there's a big sequence in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which you may or may not remember, where they're going through the jungle and there's big vehicle chase and all kinds of stuff happening. And the jungle just looks fucking weird and terrible CGI. Um, and there's a couple of sequences in the new film that do something somewhat similar, but like me and my wife were like, they're like, yeah, but even if it was CGI, it didn't look shitty like Kingdom and the Crystal Skull. Um and yeah, there's a lot of interesting thing. Like I would say, you know, be prepared for a hell of a lot more de-aged Indiana Jones than you would think. Like this probably has the most de-aging I've ever seen in any film ever. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Um yeah. Um no, I know. Um like it's not perfect, but you can tell every time that Lucasfilm does this, like obviously they, you know, they've done it a handful of times in The Mandalorian and stuff like that. That they're getting really pretty fucking good at it. Cause um there's like basically just like a whole ass section of the film where you're with original trilogy version Harrison Ford. Um and a handful of other characters that are also de-aged as well. So but it's quite interesting because like part of me is like, oh wow, they're doing, oh, we're still okay, this is still happening. And like, and I'm like looking at the clock and I was like, oh man, we're fucking going 20 minutes into this. I was like, Jesus Christ, this is probably like millions and millions of dollars per shot here. And there's a lot of them. Um but I'd say the action. Yep. Yeah, they sure fucking are. The action is really well done in this film. Like it felt Indiana Jones. It didn't feel crazy over the top like Crystal Skull. It felt classic. It felt rough. It appeared, at least. Obviously, I'm sure there's some CGI here and there. It felt for the most part they were staying true to the word that they've been advertising. They're like, yeah, we did everything as much practical as we fucking possibly could on this. So there's some great stunts, there's some great action sequences. Um, there's You know, like I said, there's not a ton of humor, but the humor that they do have is pretty good. Me and my wife had, I mean, we had the first morning showing on a Saturday opening weekend, so it was us and like all the people with canes. But we were all laughing at the same. Yes, yes. Um, yes, something like that. Yeah, exactly. But no, we were all laughing at the same stuff. There was good one-liners and zingers. Um, it felt like an appropriate and not forced final movie for Indiana Jones. Like it didn't feel like Indiana Jones 5 because we're doing fucking 5. You know, it felt like there was a lot of care in the shots. There was a lot of effort went into stuff. I'd say the only gripes that I have with the film, there are a handful of scenes that felt a little too long for my taste, which affected some pacing. Um, and there's a kid character that I can't tell if he's a bad actor or if English really is his second language. Real hard to tell. um, but yeah, even the character played by Phoebe, whatever her name, who's playing the goddaughter, um, like her character is like really cool. Like it's way more interesting than the trailers would have you believe. Because like I feel like if you watch the trailer, especially coming from Crystal Skull, where it's like, oh yeah, we fucking hate Shia LaBeouf being his kid, and now we've got his daughter. So it seems like we're just replacing one shoe with another, and that's not what it is. It's not what it is in this film. Yes. Um, but yeah, no, I was very pleased as a longtime Indiana Jones fan. As your screen went black, or you're flashing yourself. I don't know what you're doing over there, man. Mm, mm. Yeah, no, I was very pleased. Obviously, can't say anything bad about the music because it's the incomparable John Williams for his final indie film, and it's like the man is like 90, 95, he's something shit like that, and he still fucking no, he does not. Um, yeah, I mean, we were thinking it way back at Force Awakens because remember he had signed on to do it, but he was not in good health. And so he actually did one of the very rare times he did not conduct his orchestra. As Nate looks off camera to something important. There has been a disturbance. He's muted himself, I think. Yep, he's chuckling. He's chuckling as he looks over to the right. He's moving something with his hand. He's pointing to the floor. He's like, that's where the crime scene happened. That's what one of our daughters did. It's over there. I'm just lip syncing at this point, folks. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'll get to that roof tomorrow. Hun, I love you." How did I do? Oh yeah? All right, sweet. Mm, mm. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. Mm, okay. Yeah. Indiana Jones, Dial of Destiny. Still a dumb title, but if you watch the movie, it's like, okay, I see why they went. went with this title. Oh, it is 100%. Except if it was Tomb Raider, probably be Dial of Fate or something like that. Oh, I will say, because this was a huge criticism I had on Crystal Skull, so the Crystal Skull prop is still a dumb fucking piece of plastic with saran wrap in it. Fucking terrible looking prop. Dial of Destiny prop, the MacGuffin in this film, looks like they made that shit out of fucking metal. It was great. Yeah. I mean, it's all Lucas ILM and all that stuff. So, but yeah, I was surprised to still see the Paramount logo when the movie started. Very surprised to see that, because it's not owned by Paramount. I mean, they must have something, because the Paramount logo is the Disney logo and the Paramount logo and then the Lucasfilm logo. The one thing I'll note, having seen all the indies, because all the indie films start on something that looks like the Paramount Mountain and then moves away. This is the one film that does not start that way. There is no Paramount Mountain there, other than the fact that the logo's there in the very beginning. One minor, whatever. Yeah, exactly. So I saw that, and I'm behind an episode. I did see the first episode of Marvel's Secret Invasion, so I don't know if you're gonna get on that one or not. Star Wars? Oh, okay. I didn't see season 2. I saw the first season. Yeah. It's a wild ride, let me tell you that. Fucking different, totally different vibe every episode. Yeah, I mean, that kind of stuff is super fun. You know, I've enjoyed these collage, multiple animation type stuff ever since they, to my knowledge, first did it in the Animatrix that released right between the first Matrix film and the second Matrix film, where they had anime, they had like a full CGI thing. It was great. So, but yeah, no, that's all I've been watching. Secret Invasion, too early to tell. I had some gripes with some stuff that that's my answer. A long two. Me and my wife have problems with Secret Invasion. We felt Sam Jackson is being too Sam Jackson-y and not Nick Fury-y. Yeah, without that word, pretty much. And so we feel he's being, at the very least the first episode, because it's the only one we saw, he's being too Sam Jackson-y and not Nick Fury-y enough, which is weird. And they even go over that like in the first episode, because like you've seen Endgame and all that Marvel shit, right? Yeah. And they go over that with the fact that, you know, he's been out a long time. He got snapped, so he missed 5 years, and the whole fucking universe changed, and he's like not the same man and all that kind of shit. But it's still weird. And then there's a big chase scene in the end of the first episode, and I was screaming at the TV because whoever shot that is dumb. Like, it's not good. Not a good. It's like, why the fuck is that character doing that? That's not what would. And it's not even like a oh, they're against continuity. It's like, it's just a badly shot scene. Like, it's just bad. Sorry, but like, I've come to expect way better from Marvel, let alone shit that Sam Jackson's in. It's fucking weird. I have my theories already. Because the vibe of this one is. Do you know the premise at all? So remember Captain Marvel, right? They introduced the Skrulls that can shapeshift into people. Okay, so this is all about that. Basically, the gist in this is Nick Fury's back on Earth. He hasn't been on in a while, and there are two factions of Skrulls. There's good Skrulls that work with Nick Fury's group and stuff, and then there's bad Skrulls who are trying to infiltrate everything and take over the world. So it's a spy, high stakes, whodunit with shapeshifters. Is the vibe that they're going for. Yeah. Except these shapeshifters are people. They don't have to turn into a bucket to go whatever. So yeah, that's all I've seen. I guess you probably haven't seen much besides what you just mentioned. Having blissfully avoided. I've seen the first three. However many that is after that, I've avoided all of the other ones. Yeah, and then you're gonna get Fast 11 and 12. Was it good? I guess. Was it fun? Oh, not at all. Is it bad? Oh. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's what I've heard. And I've heard it's you're gonna love it or you're gonna hate it. But since I have no barometer for the Fast franchise, other than I keep seeing movie trailers for them, and I did see the first three, but so did everybody back then. Everybody saw the first three. Like a trilogy should. Okay. Yeah, I've heard the fans are not pleased with this film, and that it's like one of the first Fast films in like many Fast films that hasn't made $1 billion. And it like way underperformed. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, so I know about that because they made that public about the Dwayne the Rock coming back and shit. I don't know, man. Who fucking knows? I maybe or they put a B on the paycheck. You know, who knows? Ah, I'm doing great. I'm doing great tonight. That was fucking startling. How the fuck? Why are you going off? Probably look to make sure more alarms don't go up. Nope, that'll be the last one. Awesome. Great. Perfect. All right, let's spin the ring. Get to the other things. Yep, I did fire. It's air. Which one's air? It is video games. Yes. Yeah, we did it all. Yeah. I don't think this was talked about. There is a memorial for the actor Lance Reddick that was added to Horizon Forbidden West. So that's nice. Yeah, it's a little weird that they haven't done that yet for Destiny. Yeah, I did see something that the recording artist said that whatever mission briefing this week in Destiny was the last recording that they did with them. I don't know if that's the last recording they have of him. I kind of doubt it. Um, but yeah. The only other, yeah. The Xbox games was gold for next month. A game called Darkwood, a game called When the Past was around. I don't know. They look indie as fuck. Those are the free games next month for Xbox. Meanwhile, PlayStation has actually some really fucking big games for July. They got Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, and this is pretty cool since it only came out last October. Alan Wake Remastered is available. That's go get that's a go get that one. Yeah, but I mean these were, yeah. Well, I mean I don't know the exact releases of Call of Duties, but I'm pretty sure that one is an old one. So whatever. And then there's some other indie game called Endling called Extinction is Forever. I don't know what those are, but July still should probably be up by July 4th. Nothing much to say other than I actually haven't played that much Zelda. I actually recently just got back to Zelda because my last 2 weeks have been crazy. What I did do though, actually, fuck, I didn't post it. There was a Nintendo Direct, actually, that we should probably just very quickly go over. I did watch it. I was late to it. Nintendo Direct announcements, and I only bring that up because during it, they announced Pikmin 1 and 2 HD, which I did pick up, and I played and beat Pikmin 1 as a comfort food because it's very short. It's like 3-5 hours, something like that. The first one, um, which in retrospect is super weird. Like it was great. I had a great time. Nostalgia was great. Played it back on the GameCube. Have it on the GameCube. But I'm like, the game is so short. How the fuck in the GameCube era did they justify a full price for this fucking game when it's like, I mean, I know the Nintendo tax, but still. Click this. Nope, that's the video. I need a direct to type in the date to get the right one. June 21st. All announcements. There we go. So again, oh yeah. Sorry. This is just the first one I could find. There's DLC coming for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Which is interesting because, to my understanding, they still haven't fixed the broken game. They showed more gameplay of Sonic Superstars, which of course I am going to hook into my veins as soon as that drip is available. And actually, I saw a preview by some reputable Sonic people who I guess played it somewhere at some show, something. And then they're like, this might be good, guys. I'm like, okay, god damn it. All right, let's go. Game called Palia's coming out holiday 2023. I don't remember what that one's about. Persona 5 Tactica is coming out November 17th. A game called Myth Force is coming out somehow still this year. Detective Pikachu Returns, which is a video game, not the movie. Although the trailer for this video game looks exactly like the fucking last movie they did. So I don't fucking know. but that's out. Yeah. Yes. And so this is very, 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 very surprising because this is one of those things where Nintendo didn't hold all the cards to remake this. This is a collaboration from the Super NES era. Yes. So, and we also have to state like it technically has a subtitle, but they're not using the subtitle for this remake. So there's a full blown 3D from the ground up, not at all a port, Super Mario RPG remake. Those who may remember it from the Super NES era, it was Super Mario RPG and like the Legend of the Stars, some shit back in the day. I'll just fucking Super Mario RPG. Go. Google, you're not going. Google, go. Go faster, Google. Google's not doing shit. Jesus Christ, Google. Okay, Super Mario RPG and the Legend of the Seven Stars was the original title on the box. And this one's just being called up straight Super Mario RPG. I don't know if Square actually assisted in the remaking, but their copyright sure as fuck is still on it in the direct and all the marketing. Very surprised, because that was one like the GoldenEye N64 that we never thought we were gonna get, or something that's like currently holding up Donkey Kong 64 from being re-released because that game code was made by Rare, which is owned by Microsoft now. It's a whole thing. Then they also super weirdly teased like an unnamed Princess Peach video game coming out next year. They had like 5 seconds of footage, so it's super fucking weird they even showed it at all. Very, very bizarre. This pleased me. So Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon Remastered is now in development, coming out next year. That's great because Dark Moon is fantastic. I can confirm, because nerds, that it is indeed basically it's an up-res. It's not a Metroid Prime remake style. It's yeah, like it was like basically what I saw and what people were pointing out was shot for shot, same exact animation, pretty much the same textures, which is a little unfortunate because it wasn't on 3DS. That's like, I don't know what the resolution on that thing was. It was like 600 by 300 or something like that. It's a really weird resolution. But the game's good. If you like Luigi's Mansion, do that. Yeah, and it is, but it's also a game that's stuck on a handheld that's no longer produced. So, yeah. So I feel like that's only a matter of time before the first Luigi's Mansion gets its port to the Switch, because why would you not have the trilogy altogether? This one is a little bit of a head scratcher. So the Batman Arkham trilogy, which is of course a fan-fucking-tastic series of Batman games, it's coming on to Switch. Now, there's some asterisks on this one. Number one, if you get it on cartridge, it's only going to have Batman Arkham Asylum on it, which is the first game, which makes sense because I think by the time you get to Arkham Knight, which is the third one, that game's like 118 gigs. And that was on PS4, or at least where I played it, was on PS4. That was way back in 2017, and that was practically unheard of a game. So I don't know how much fucking space you're gonna need on the SD card. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's good, and it's a little odd that the Switch cards are only fabricated in, I think they're only fabricated in 16 gig and 32 gig is as big as they go, which is weird because I remember they had this problem with the Doom port, which I have, where it was like, yeah, the multiplayer is on the card. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, because the campaign's like 23 gigs, so you're gonna have to download that because it doesn't fit on the card. So that's the first asterisk. The second asterisk would be Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, which were originally released on the 360 era of consoles, which are going to run great on the Switch. It's been proven to handle those games like clockwork better than the originals. Arkham Knight, though, was pushing the boundaries in the CPUs of the Xbox One and the PS4 when it came out. And they used all the extra RAM because they were rendering a full open world that time. And not only that, rendering it fast, because that's the one where they give you the fucking Batmobile and they say, go have fun. Driving around at speed. And I'm like, I don't know how the Switch is going to do that. Because Arkham Knight, even though it's an old game on Unreal Engine 3, is still a graphically impressive game today. Like, it still looks really good. And I don't know how that's gonna go on the Switch. I'm not saying it's not impossible because we have fucking Skyrim, we have Witcher, we have fucking Doom, we have all this shit on the Switch that shouldn't or is improbable to have been put on the Switch. So I'd say that but again, these are UE3 games. Which is garbage. Garbage game. Don't play it. See, good. Mm. Yeah, I played that last summer with Daniel. It was on our "What are we playing on Game Pass tonight?" kind of fucking thing. And it was atrocious. Um, it's not how that works. You can't do that. So there you can't take UE3 stuff to UE4. You can take UE4 stuff to 5. 4 was a big break from how UE3 did things, which is why it was like starting over again. And there's been many times on this show where I have pointed out that there's been plenty of Unreal Engine 3 games on Switch. Looking at you, Bioshock Infinite, and Rocket League and stuff. And somehow, yes, it is, and always will be. Always will be because they can't replicate the physics in UE4 or 5, which seems weird because now they're owned by Epic, and I would think that they could fucking figure out a fucking way to do that. But no, to my knowledge, there is still no official Unreal Engine 3 support for the Switch hardware, which is wild because clearly there's been a fuck ton of UE3 ports, and my understanding is each of those is handled specifically. So I don't know. We'll see, I guess. Stranger things have happened. Yeah, a game called Gloomhaven coming out September 18th. Have you? Is it good? Fair enough. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Cool. Good to know. Comes out. Yeah, fair enough. Comes out September 18th. Just Dance 2024 edition is coming. A game called Silent Hope comes out October 3rd. Another game called Fae Farm comes out September 8th. Hot Wheels 2 Unleashed Turbocharged comes out October 19th. Manic Mechanics, which I have to say looks like a mechanical carbon copy of the game Overcooked, like the same exact goddamn game. And I'm just like, well, I guess we're getting clones of that type of game now. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope DLC comes out June 21st, so it's actually already out as of this recording. This is somewhat significant as this will be the first time that Mario and Rayman have existed together in the same game. Because how the fuck Rayman never ended up in Smash Brothers, I will never fucking know. Makes no sense. Dragon Quest Monsters Dark Prince comes out December 1st. Pikmin 4 comes out July 21st. I already have my pre-order, and there's a demo out right now, which I downloaded. I haven't tried. Heard good things. I've heard good things. And then, because continuing Nintendo's trend of just dropping shit during a direct that's available for purchase, Pikmin 1 and 2 HD, which is a little bit of a misnomer calling it HD, because it's the game, and it's in widescreen, and they hit the button that said this is a 4x3 game, but we're gonna make it widescreen, and so things are a little stretchy spaghetti, and the menus are crisp, and yep, those are the buttons that were pressed when they put that onto Switch. Which is most assuredly these are emulated games, using their proprietary emulator, much the way they handled Mario 64 and Mario Sunshine and Galaxy, which is unfortunate, but I do love these games. And like I said, I played and beat Pikmin 1 in 2 evenings. It was nice. I kicked back after work. It was a hot day, had some lemonade, and then played till my wife got home at like midnight and be like, "Why the fuck aren't you in bed?" And I was like, "But the Pikmin." Real good game to chill out to. Confirming. So Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1 is coming October 24th. We've already talked a little bit about Master Collection and what's in it specifically. And it's really cool that it's coming to the Switch, because some of these games have never been on Switch or on a Nintendo platform before. So that's neat. It'll be good to play those on the go again. What's more interesting, and I'm a Metal Gear Solid fan, so I found this on some fan sites. The fan sites were able to data mine Konami's website, because of course they don't have good security. And they were able to determine that Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 2 will have Metal Gear Solid 4 in it when it releases sometime next year. And that is particularly important because that has never, ever, 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 ever been anywhere playable outside the original PS3 copy. Because that was a wholesale Sony paid for exclusive. So it's going to be awesome that whatever got worked out on that, and that other people will be able to play 4. Because 4 was the ending of the whole ass fucking series until they decided to do 5. And then fire the people who made 5, because Konami. So that's cool. Game Vampire Survivors comes out August 17th. It looks like a weird chip bitty thing. This game looks... Yes. This game looks so fucking dumb. Headbangers Rhythm Royale. You're like beating your head to the music. looks so fucking dumb. If you want dumb shit, that's out October 31st. Penny's Big Breakaway. Now I think if this is the game I'm thinking of. Yes. So this is one to take note of. You're playing like, so first of all, it's a platforming game. It's a 3D platforming game. And we're bringing this up specifically because yeah, so you're Penny and you have like a yo-yo. It's described as a kinetic 3D platforming bursting with expressive gameplay. But the reason I'm paying special attention to this is because this is an original IP and an original game made by the lovely, lovely developers who gave us the absolute god tier Sonic Mania game. And so I'm very interested to see what that team can do, not with a Sonic game, with their own IP. They're doing 3D. So the talent behind it, I'm like, they got real good chops. So if they can turn that into their own 3D game, I'm very interested to see what they come up with. Especially because, yeah, they're the publisher. Private Division's a publisher. Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is a little odd, right? That it doesn't say S in there. Yeah. I mean, I guess I don't even think that's allowed if you make a game on Xbox. Like it has to run on S, if is my understanding. But anyway, I'm just bringing it up because I think the name's done. The art is questionable, personally, but if the game's good, none of that matters. Like that's kind of my philosophy. And like I said, they gave us Mania. They clearly understand what fun means, which is something sometimes video game developers forget, I feel. So yeah, I'm watching that one with keen interest. Just because I'm hopeful for something fun. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass Wave 5 is coming later this summer with more shit. This is interesting because so first of all, it is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and 8 Deluxe itself was a port of the Wii U game that nobody played. And Mario Kart 8 is the best-selling well, it's Wave 5 of the booster course pass. Don't you get it? This actually looks sick as fuck. Star Ocean: The Second Story R. It's coming November 2nd, and it is a full-on fair enough, but it's a JRPG. Well, the R is because it's a remake. That actually has legitimate reason for being there. So Star Ocean: Second Story R is a full-blown remake of what the internet fans are saying is the best Star Ocean game. And it is done in the they've been doing a lot of them that it's 3D, but it's like pixels that are 3D, but it looks really good with gorgeous lighting and stuff. That it's that kind of art style. You know what I'm talking about? They're doing that and full voice acting, which my understanding is this game didn't have that before. So, yeah. I don't know, and I don't think it matters because the video I saw was that 3D, 2D art style, and then like a big old fat, like really nicely drawn character portrait, and then voice while there's text coming on the bottom. So I don't think dubbing is going to be part of the equation. I think it's just a nicety added to the remake for people. There's a new WarioWare game called Move It coming out November 3rd. Never played those. They're fucking weird, is what they are. It's like it's like a Nintendo developer, and they have crack every once in a while, and then they give you a WarioWare game. That's what they are. That's the best way to describe them. They're fun, but they're also kind of like throwaway games, if that makes any sense. They have like 100 micro mini games or whatever, and then you do them, and then you're just kind of done with it because it's like, all right, well, I've done them. Next. And then, of course, the big news was they announced a brand new 2D side-scrolling Super Mario Brothers game, which is surprising to me that this shit was not announced. It is 2D, and actually, Digital Foundry has already looked at this. So they're using a style that they did on New Super Mario Brothers on the Wii, where like the backdrops and like all the things, those are actual 2D objects, but the characters are 3D, full 3D rendered. No, 2.5D implies the perspective shift where you're looking at it at an angle. So actually, what would be a good example of 2.5D? Look at Sonic Superstars, where it's a 2D game, but all those assets are 3D. That would be like a 2.5D. Whereas this is very flat. But basically, again, the Nintendo team was doing crack and decided Mario should turn into an elephant. And when he gets to the Wonder Thingamajig, all the levels go on an acid trip, and like the pipes come alive, and the trees start dancing and shit. It's a whole thing. It's coming out October 20th, which couldn't be more of a fuck you, Sony, than I could ever fucking think of. Because that's when fucking Spider-Man 2 comes out. And I think we all know who's winning that race, even though it's Spider-Man. Or no, it's going to be Mario. Mario's going to sell more than Spider-Man. They always do. Like that's not even a question. Like Spider-Man will probably do 18 million easy. You know, maybe 20. Like fucking Mario, it's gonna do 40 or something insane. Like it's not even a contest, unfortunately. But yeah, man, Nintendo, holy shit! Like everybody just pays no attention to Nintendo. Nintendo's just like, oh yeah, you got that fucking Spider-Man game coming out? Fuck you, Mario. like I can't stress enough how insane the Nintendo Directs have been this year, where they're just like, oh yeah, this shit's available today. Oh yeah, this shit's out next month. Oh yeah, fuck you and your date. We're taking it. Like they're so politely aggressive. Like I almost feel like Nintendo's run by Canadians or something. Like fucking weird. But yeah, no, I think that's gaming. Close this here. Attempting? What does that mean? Holy shit, Nate. Is it because you're genuinely exhausted when you're playing? Or is it because it's not grabbing? Because there's been plenty of games where it's like, oh, I want to love this, but then I'll like fucking fall asleep, or I'll find myself more interested in cleaning the shower or some other thing than playing the game. And it's like, well, maybe the game's not that good. Mm. Mm. Yeah. Well, I mean, what's your thoughts on it other than that it's putting you to sleep? Like, I hear it's good. People are saying that it's like the second, the third, the fourth coming of Diablo Christ. Oh, is it? Is it not kind to the PC? Really? Yeah, I've heard that complaint. I've heard that complaint that the art style that they went with, is so advanced, that it's well, think about it this way, like sure, and I bet, but think of it this way. I remember, when they jumped from 2D to 3D with Warcraft, right? That was a huge, and obviously they don't look nothing now, but like Warcraft 3 had crazy specs back in the day. I remember because I was able to play like Warcraft and StarCraft on my and Diablo 2 and stuff on my old like G4 power book. But then I wanted to play Warcraft 3 and I could not fucking run it worth shit. And so I would have to like basically beg to get time on my dad's iMac G5, which had a much beefier GPU and a beefier chip for that matter, just to play Warcraft 3 on passable settings, you know. Um yeah, well, I mean, I don't think it was framey. I think it just didn't run at all. Like it didn't even run at all. But they did that again, remember, when they jumped to StarCraft 2, and 2 had crazy specs back in the day because they had their real-time cutscenes and they had like really good looking graphics at the time, that now are obviously, nothing, you know. Um yeah, oh yeah. I love our style on StarCraft for sure. And I think what they did with 4 is they're like, people love the old fucking pre-rendered fucking thing. What if we just made our graphics look like that? Let's just reach that level and just do it for real, you know? So, yeah. But yeah, haven't been playing anything new unless you count Pikmin 1, which is 22 years old. I don't remember when it came out. It was a while ago. Do they sing? Are there monsters? Is it is it good? Okay. Uh-huh. Mm. Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Mm. I see. Well, fair enough. All right, technology. We did it. We did it. Well, I mean, there's a lot to say. So, yeah, we haven't talked about this somehow all June. which is crazy to me that we haven't talked about it. I feel like you and I have talked like hang on. Am I crazy? There weren't two Apple events in June, was there? Was it just WWDC? Weird. Yeah, we did that. Hmm. But we didn't. We talked about it briefly last podcast. Okay. Well, let's talk about the Apple Pro Vision. Well, kind of. Um, I don't know. Let's hear your thoughts on it first. What do you think? Here's here's what we know, good listener. You don't know. Apple announced, and to use the terms that they've apparently banned in their marketing, a AR VR headset with the insane price tag of $3,499.99. It is indeed, but it is also very, very much an all-in-one. And so basically what it is it's a headset that you can strap onto your face and you can see VR shit with it, or you can see through it to the environment that you're actually in, and things will appear projected. Uh-huh. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Indeed. So yeah, yeah. This is not that. I think I mentioned last podcast, because it's been some time since this was announced, unfortunately. Um, Linus Tech Tips and Marquise Brownlee's, two very prominent tech reviewers, have both tried the headset for real, and they were both like, holy shit. It's pretty fucking amazing and magical. Yeah. I watched a really interesting thing. I don't even know how I stumbled across it, but I watched a small interview with Lucky Palmer, who was talking about his thoughts on this. And if you don't know who Lucky Palmer is, he invented the commercially viable VR headset known as the Oculus Rift. Very smart fella. Literally knows what he's talking about because he helped invent the fucking thing. So they were asking him some very interesting questions. He thought that, um, he thought it was very ballsy of them to put the processing in the headset itself. Because his thing is like, what he says, it hasn't really been until the Meta Quests where technology has evolved enough so that it's light enough. He's like, because the last, this is all the research he's done and stuff. The last thing you want is weight on your head. It's just battery. But it's interesting you bring that up because that's exactly what Lucky said. He's like, if you don't think we didn't invent like a hip battery or whatever when we were developing the Oculus, he's like, you'd be wrong. We did it all in R&D. And he's like, and honestly, the fact that it magnetically connects and can be on either side and they're showing you with it, he says that's a super Apple move, because he says what that's going to allow you to do is, because you're not going to be able to put, at least for very much longer, much more powerful computer stuff in the headset without heat being a concern and stuff. He's like, so that's going to move to that little thing in your pocket. And he's like, and so what that's going to do is that's Apple training their audience and the people who use this that's okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, he had some very interesting thoughts on how they were going about stuff. I think the interviewer asked him, they're like, so do you think this is going to be the one that's going to make it better, or like break that barrier for the public for like it VR to be okay? And he put it in a way of, he's like, look, VR was dumb when we were inventing it, and now VR is kind of accepted. He's like, it's the same thing as, it was unacceptable to talk on a cell phone walking someplace. You're like, oh my gosh, who's that guy over there? He's so rude. He's like, now everybody does it. He's like, I think this is just going to be another axe in the tree before it falls, where VR AR will be socially and commercially acceptable. And we'll see people with these goggles on planes and stuff, like Apple has shown in their demonstration videos. And he's like, the suitcase phone days? Talking about the brick? Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah. His criticisms, though, were rather interesting. So the Apple Vision Pro doesn't have any controllers. You use your physical hands. They have insane amounts of technology developed to track that, which, according to early tech reviews, is indeed fucking dope. Lucky Palmer's thing on it is like, he's like, the way I think of it, he's like, because we developed Oculus with game controllers, with controllers. He's like, the way I think about it is, I think not having controllers is going to be great for everybody that doesn't use a controller. He's like, because you don't need anything. He's like, it's the same thing as when they got rid of the pen on the iPhone. It's so simple. You have them. He said that he thinks that there'll always be a world. He says, just like how, he's like, cell phones can do pretty much everything a computer can these days, but we still use a 2D display and a keyboard and a mouse. He's like, that's never going to go away, because you can physically do that faster than you could on a phone or anything, because your input device, and he used the term, turned that function into a superhuman action. He's like, think about it this way. We have tools and pens and stuff for people to be in VR and sculpt stuff in 3D. And you can do that way easier in VR than you can on a 2D monitor, which is how it was done before for like CGI and stuff like that. And he said his personal vision, whether or not we'll get there, as one of the founders of current VR, was you'll have an Apple Vision Pro, and he's like, obviously it's marketed at the high end. He's like, but that's fine. That's what Apple does every single time on their cycle. They start ultra, ultra high and then they bring it down. He's like, when we have the Vision not Pro 3 or whatever, and it's in the hands of everybody else, he's like, I can imagine them also offering some kind of tool or glove or something that would help the superhuman nature. Well, and maybe not even, I mean, maybe not even that either. Hmm. Sure. Well, sure. Yes. Yeah. But he also made a very good point in that, um, he brought up a lot about haptics. He's like, think about it this way. He's like, if you're using the Apple Vision Pro, you just have your hands. So you're relying on yourself to know when a digital button is pushed or clicked or whatever. And he's like, and he says, yeah, and he's like, and that's something that he says is going to be uniquely challenged by Apple. And he's like, and maybe they figured it out, maybe not. He's like, but I don't think, he's like, that's not going to work for games. He's like, it might work for some games, but you're going to need some kind of peripheral device for that haptic or tactile feedback. And I was like, yeah, that's a very interesting point. Very, very good stuff. Well, I mean, some of the controllers now, I mean, I haven't held one yet, but the PSVR 2, it's scanning your fingers while you're holding the controller. So that's something, you know. It's a glove kind of. But yeah. I don't know. It was really cool stuff. I was glad I stumbled across the YouTube video because he just had, I mean, because he knew he'd been there. He designed stuff, his thought process on it, and like the way Apple was going about it, you know. And he even said that he'd seen it. He'd been invited into their research labs 5 years ago, and he saw a really early prototype of it. And he said he says it's very interesting to him that they ended up not doing a a physical controller, that they went with the hand tracking stuff, because he says that stuff, he's like, it's hard. It's hard to do. He's like, and maybe they've cracked it. Like, it was very interesting. um yes. So a little bit more things about the device itself. So it's running Vision OS, which is obviously built off of the infamous Mac OS foundation. And as far as its interface goes, it's like a mix between iOS and Mac OS in terms of what it presents a user, for like going through folders and stuff like that. You can be, I guess, you could be doing something on your Apple Vision Pro and you can be near your Mac, and then that Mac can just like flick up to your Vision to like be a screen. Like, it can just magically know what's on your Mac. So if you need to do stuff on your Mac, and they brought up the example of using like a smaller Mac, or really like a Mac like mine that I use for business, my MacBook Air, which has a 12-inch, 13-inch screen, small. And like, you have it on and you go sit down and you start typing on it, and then your screen like kicks off, and then in your Vision in front of you is a huge screen of what you were just working on your Mac. And I was like, okay. Yes. Um I mean, I guess. Yeah. Um so you can do stuff like that. It has Apple's first 3D camera on it. which they call eyesight. And that's interesting because Apple hasn't done that yet. Although, things have, like, my 3DS can record 3D video and pictures and stuff like that. And this is actually the only one that tech reviewers have said kind of sucks. Like, it's just not there yet. Marquise Brownlee particularly was harsh of, like, the 3D video and the 3D camera. And he was just like, yeah, it's just not good enough. He's like, if you compare it to everything else the headset does and does way better than anybody else, he's like, this is one. He's like, this one's way behind the curve. But you can, I guess. The demonstration at WWDC showed, like, a father wearing it and recording, like, a birthday with his girls. And I get what they were going for with that, but, like, again, it goes back to, like, socially acceptable and stuff. Like, who the fuck will be wearing a headset that makes you look like a space invader at your, like, daughter's birthday to record that memory in 3D? Like, I get the idea of recording in 3D, like, I think that's cool, but it's also weird, right? Like, it's like, okay. Yeah, right? Yeah, you wouldn't do that. Like, yeah. Yeah. So some of the big use cases for this device that they showed off are actually for, like, movies and TV shows. Everything from sitting down on your couch with not having a TV and having it, like, projected huge on your wall, or anything like that, which is really cool in theory. Um, you know, the the specs on the actual displays inside the headset are pretty much absolutely astronomically insane. Like, take whatever the highest resolution headset is, which I think might be the PSVR 2 right now, if I'm not mistaken. I think they have the highest resolution headset right now before the next HTC one comes out. I might be crazy on that, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. Um, yeah, and that's specifically for the PSVR 2. Well, this one per eye is going to have 25 million pixels per eye, which is so astronomically insane and insanely high. I understand why. As someone who has, an old VR headset now and has messed around with them, basically the higher the resolution, the closer you can get to the full illusion that you are in a VR space, or in this case, since it does full true life pass through to your environment, um, handling that. So looking real, even though you're viewing your environment through a camera. I mean, it could be. I mean, there's some decent tech in here. So it's got a modified version, as they say, of the M2 chip, which is the successor to the M1. So which is already a very, very powerful chip. Which also has a new chip, which they're calling the R1, which they said is built specifically for handling very specific things. From it's handling the sensing of your hands. It's apparently handling specifically the camera feed to your eyes for when you're looking in your normal, for the pass through. Um they said something in there, and I don't have it in my notes here, unfortunately. But they said something like the refresh ratio required a different type of video throughput processor because they're doing something at so many milliseconds or something that's actually twice what your eyes handle, so that what you're seeing is as real and true to life as presently technologically capable of. Um, and like I said, they showed this use case of, you have like a big apartment and you don't have a TV, and you put your headset on and suddenly you have a huge TV. Um, and or you can put yourself in an environment, and they showed like you being on a cool lake, or being in a snowfield, or being in like a nice zen garden, or different places to view uh stuff. Yeah, like that's their idea. Well, and they showed a thing because they had Bob Iger on stage for a minute saying that they're going to be there day one with Disney Plus to support, and they said we're doing a full new interface for Disney Plus specifically for this, and they're like, and you'll be able to do this, and they showed you can view stuff while sitting air quotes in a cockpit of like an X-wing, and I'm like, all right, that's pretty cool. Let's be honest, that's pretty cool. Um, so I wanted to say something about the screen projection thing. So as someone who has actually used my PSVR to watch a handful of specifically 3D Blu-ray movies, and they have a feature kind of like that, where you're like in like a dark, nondescript room, and you can clearly see like a screen, and you have kind of like like you're in a theater type environment. You can make that screen however big you want. But obviously that was PSVR 1, so that was only 1080p, and then half that per eye. So making it bigger was not great. Yeah, yeah, very very cool stuff. Um, yeah. So the headset itself has built-in um external, I'm hesitant to call them ear pod speakers because they don't go in your ear. They sit above it. And then they use a crazy fancy buzzword, which I think is fake, called ray traced audio. And I'm like, okay, sure, sure, Apple. Whatever you say. Yeah, which they already do. Um, oh yeah, they rolled out that Unity, the game engine, um, is already available for Reality OS development, which is kind of big since Unity has actually already been kind of in the forefront of VR stuff already. Like usually when VR stuff's there, they're like the first ones ready to go for VR, which is interesting. I think Unity's probably trying to own that space over Unreal. It's like, just keep laughing at me. Just do it. Just do all of the laughing. You want to tell the folks at home what time of night in the podcast? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sir. Indeed. Nate loves it. He thinks it's hilarious. Did you hear him laugh? um yeah, so you'll be able to hear stuff, or of course if you want more private experience, you can pop in Parrot earpods or AirPods Pro, obviously since it's an Apple device. um they have a lot of like special woven fabrics and magnets and clasp things for the actual headset apparatus. Um, which honestly I'm kind of excited about because that is definitely something that is kind of, and I'm not worn the PSVR 2. I've heard it's great, or some of the high end headsets, but it is one of the areas where VR kind of sucks, is in actually strapping it onto your fucking face. Um, they have stated that if you wear glasses or contacts, you will need to wear them with this. It's not going to fit every glasses types as this headset fits way closer to your actual eyeballs than normal headsets. Yes, they have a prescription eyepiece that will fit in magnetically, which honestly is super fucking smart. Um, though, given the price tag already of the device, I can't imagine those prescription lenses will come cheap at all. But it's a solution to a problem. Well, and look at it at the way that Apple's trying to present it. They're trying to present it as a thing that's something you could wear all day. And if you did, yeah, you'd want fucking prescription lenses, you know. So yeah, so that's interesting. Um that glasses attachment comes out sometime next year, TBD, no release date. They mostly wanted to show it off to the world and also get developers on it since it's a whole ass new and people are like, oh well, it just runs Mac. It's like, yeah, okay, fine, but VR AR stuff is infinitely more complicated to design for than traditional 2D screen media. Like, it's way more complicated because now we're dealing with stuff that exists or is fake existing in the space that you're in. And not only do you have to design it, but then there's a whole other thing where, Apple on the back end is doing things. So like if you have like Windows or if you have something 3D, that it's like fake casting shadows on things and stuff so that it looks, more real or whatever. Oh yeah, AR is way harder. But, and I've been saying this since Tim Cook became CEO, he has been really, 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 really fucking interested in AR. Because I remember before Steve Jobs is like, AR, it's kind of cool. And then Tim Cook took over and he had like demos on stage and LiDAR, all kinds of shit. He's been very interested in that, which is interesting since, I mean, he is he is the CEO and he's been the CEO for quite a while now. But, he's not, he's not a, like, his primary role was he was the supply chain management guy. And so I think he probably has a good understanding of what technology exists and how it functions, but he's not a visionary. Yeah, I think that's, yes. I think he, like, because I remember interviews with him years ago, when there was a billion rumors, which obviously were all true, that they were going to do a watch, you know, and I think a few months before the watch was officially announced, and somebody asked him about wearables and the future of computing on wearables, and he's like, really coyly, he's like, yeah, that's an area that's very interesting, you know. And here we are now with, obviously the Apple Watch is a huge success. But the thing that I would like to or I'd like to put a point on is, there were plenty of tech watches before the Apple Watch. I had more than a few of them, you know, and Sure. And maybe you had it. I don't know if you did or not, but maybe you had an early Samsung watch and they weren't exactly all that. They've gotten infinitely better, you know. But yeah, look at Pebble and the Fitbits and all of those got way better now, and they were garbage in comparison. And I think it really did take somebody like Apple going, okay, here's how we do a wearable to push everybody else into going, oh yeah, ergonomics is a thing. Because something that I personally love, you know, and I didn't expect it is, and I'm showing to the camera the normal ass Apple Watch Sport Band, the loop that goes underneath, but it's one of the comfiest. And I've always been, since I was like 5, I've been worn a watch, been a watch kid, group of watch, all that shit. And there's been some watches that I like the faces, but the bands fucking sucked, fucking cut into you, or were garbage, or fell apart, or whatever. Yeah. You got a magnetic band, you know, and it's like I think Apple's innovation in the wearable space for comfort and design is really good, and the fact that that's being applied to VR makes me excited because that's going to push the industry forward again. You know, even though they're not doing anything revolutionary other than the fact that they're doing it at a higher level than anybody else. Because the whole thing really is basically a Microsoft HoloLens, you know, that thing that barely exists. Yeah, and that's the other thing, you know. And like you said, they've mhm, mhm. Well, sure. Oh yeah, sure. Mhm. Well, and it's the same thing, like what I'm saying about the watch and the VR that's exciting and them doing it. It's the same thing that I've heard from um, friends of mine and fans of cars. You know, the infamously long rumored Apple Project Titan, that's their car, you know, that's obviously not not here. You know, they really want them to do that because they want to see what it is, what's going to make it better than a Tesla or a Rivian or any of the other things that are now on the EVs, you know. And, you know, who knows? You know, who knows if that'll still occur. But I think yeah, the Apple Provision is very interesting. Um Obviously I was rich and had a bunch of disposable money. This is something I would definitely play with for sure because I do like VR stuff. I'm not really fond of AR if I'm being totally honest. You know, it definitely got a lot better when lidar showed up in our phones, but it's still gimmicky. Yes. Hmm. Well, and I also think, yeah. Oh, speaking of the pass through of your own face on the outer screen, so it is super creepy, but also less creepy than a MetaQuest. Um, so when you're doing real world shit or like somebody wants to talk to you and obviously you have a big ass fucking thing over your eyes, um, I guess there's a thing during the setup where I guess you scan your face and you make a virtual avatar of yourself with like blinking eyes. Hmm. I was like, bitch, we don't have that technology for consumers like that because I've seen that technology. It's awesome, but they're like they're like $20,000 a panel. Yeah, so there is an outer screen that is used specifically to show a portion of your face and eyeballs. That then, because and I guess we forgot to cover this. So it has intense eye tracking. The headset when you're wearing it. So like when you're looking around or navigating, you're using your eyes. And if you focus on something, like you look at something, like you would actually focus your eyes to look at something. I guess that's how the quote unquote click works. So yeah, I've heard that the eye tracking on that is fucking absolutely magical. It did it exactly as you thought it would, and you didn't have to even think about it. Mhm. Oh yeah, 100%. Um, but yeah, so it has eye tracking, and so if you're doing something and you're going to go talk to somebody, your eyes, I guess, turn on, and it's like a real time map of your eyes with the three. It's really wild shit, but it looks good, so I get it. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's pretty wild stuff. But I think the thing that I thought was really interesting that I guess spoke to the business side of me and like the logical side of me was they pointed out, like, if you had, a 70-inch TV, if you had a gaming console and a Mac and speakers and a surround sound system, all of that would still cost more money than what they've priced this headset at that will do all of those things, which is a fair fucking point. Yes. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair because obviously it's like, okay, well, yeah, sure. And that is, of course, they're a company. That is what they're going for, But I think it's going to be cool. I think it's going to be really interesting. I think it's going to be a really exciting time when that finally arrives. And, you know, yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. We're definitely careening towards the Ready Player One shit for sure, quite literally. Um, yeah. I'm kind of here for it as well. Um, yeah, it's gonna be an interesting time. That's for fucking sure. Um, so I don't know. I think we talked about this. We talked about the game porting tool, didn't we? Okay. Um, I posted this, but I just posted this just because it was fucking dumb. A New Hampshire man pleads guilty to taking a huge bribe on shipping $2 million worth of Apple products to a competitor because he took a bribe. And then he forged somebody else's name at like a post office. And I'm just like, how dumb. Mhm. They have fucking GPSs in them, for Christ's sake. Like, they're not just a little trackable, they're a lot trackable. Yeah, fuck. Fucking crazy. Well, I'm also just like, okay, $2 million. Fine. Amazing. That's a lot of money. sure. But also, like, if you're responsible for a $2 million piece of property shipment, you're responsible for a $2 million piece of property shipment. like what? Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Was it small? Oh. Oh, no, it's FedEx. That's all you needed to say. Is FedEx. Of course they're gonna fuck it up. FedEx fucking 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 sucks. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Yep. As I do a huge yawn. Yeah, yeah, we did it. We did a show, everybody. We did a show where I did not get blasted by the end of it because I unintentionally got blasted fucking before I woke up today. Fucking go me. Oh yeah, there you go. Okay. Oh. So it goes. So it goes. All right. Well, this is the end of this week's Fork in Your Ear podcast with belated news from June on the 1st of July. Oh yeah, I read that too. I was like, oh man, Alec was great. He's good. Good guy. All right, well, and then with that fucking Debbie Downer, shit, fuck, Christ. I guess, jeez. Uh, eh, oh, okay, you're doing it for me. All right, no, go, please go ahead. Yeah, I suppose I do. I don't think that's in the outro. I mean, I say that usually now, but it's not in like a pre-recorded thing. The pre-recorded thing is like go to the website, which is where all the Discord and all the fucking shit is. So that's a thing. So go to the website. You know what it is. Yeah. There you go. All right, and with that, get forked. Thank you for listening to a Dynamic Works production podcast. You can find our podcast at www.dynamicworksproductions.com. Feel free to email us at dynamicworks@mac.com.
Dominic Armato, the voice of Guybrush Threepwood, and you're listening to a Dynamic Works production podcast.
The Citadel, Arrival, is the first installment in a series of epic science fiction short stories reminiscent of the Pulp Fiction style. It's a fast-paced story that will take you through twists and turns that you will not expect, until they are thrust upon you with all the force, excitement, and chaos of a plasma cannon blast. The story follows Katarl, a nobody cog in the working wheels of a futuristic society run completely by Megacorp, a corporation that carefully runs and manages the lives of the people living under its sphere of power. On one of Katarl's few and far between days off from work, an outing he had hoped would be fun and relaxing turns into an explosive adventure that drags him kicking and screaming into situations and challenges that will make him question every aspect of his life. Watch this colorful tapestry unfurl as Katarl and his newfound allies find their way through this classic, yet oddly surprising tale of good and evil, where nothing is quite what it appears to be. That's The Citadel, Arrival, by author Tim K. Trotter, available right now on Amazon Kindle Store and iTunes iBookstore for only $2.99. Yeah,
Yes.
it was me.
I know it was you. I'll take blame when blame is, properly levied on me, but no, that was not me.
Properly levied. Wow. Did we have to go that elaborate about it?
And let me tell you, I was fully willing to accept that, considering I was reluctantly kind of forced to upgrade to Windows 11. Yeah. I'm not happy about it, but it seems to have resolved a bunch of long-standing issues I've been having. Because, forced obsolescence and all that nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
So.
No, I had forgot to switch the mic input on Skype to this microphone. And then I remembered that I had it set to the system to go to the other microphone, the streaming microphone. And then, of course, the settings and the Skype settings don't talk to each other, at least on Mac. So when I swapped it...
They don't on Windows, hence that one episode where I fully recorded it on Skype through my webcam mic. And was wondering why why do you sound like crap this time? I don't know, because everything's lighting up on my end. So, nice to see it's fully daylight out there still.
Sure, I guess, whatever.
Yet again, seems to be getting worse and worse, although we are over that hump.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not quite as bright as it used to be around this time.
We did hit the longest day of the year, so.
Yep. We're on the other side now.
Mm-hmm.
All right, shall we do a show?
We shall do a show. Are you libating?
I'm drinking water today. Because I libated too much last night. And was fucking hungover when I saw Indiana Jones this morning.
Well,
which is shocking because I didn't have that much, but we can save it for the show. I really did. Two fucking little mugs shouldn't have done almost a day of damage.
Fair. All right. Let me put stuff where it needs to go. All right. And 3, 2, 1. Cut in.
I have stoppied all of the things that need stoppied.
Okay. Let me do the same over here.